Hello, happy Friday, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, well, last night we got some breaking news regarding the Last of Us factions, or Last of Us 2 factions. Folks, it has officially been canceled. We have a lot to say about it. There's been a tremendous amount of pushback on the socials and in the gaming media. They have walked back their distaste for another Sony mishap, and it just falls in line with how poor of a year Sony continues to have. I know that there's a lot of talk about, well, they have a political capital because they're the market leader. But unfortunately, they've had so many missteps that they are bankrupt and they need to be called out, brought to the carpet, and told about themselves. And I'm actually quite sick of the excuses that the gaming media continues to make. Got to do a shout out to Paul Tassi. Obviously, I have his article pinned and ready to rock and roll. He actually called them out as he should. I'm waiting to see if Tom Henderson, maybe Tom Warren writes a story, maybe even Jez Corden gets out there in front of this and kind of gives his hot take opinion, because this was supposed to be something incredibly special for the multiplayer aspect of PlayStation, which, to be honest with you, when it comes to first party, is non-existent. And people accept that as, well, that's just the way it is, and you shouldn't. Don't be submissive, folks. If something is bothering you, tell them about themselves. Now, we just got a Fuzzy Belvedere here. What I'm going to do is I may switch out the gameplay to have us all up on the screen, but I'm going to do that once I finish doing intros. But folks, we got to welcome in our amazing panel, because we're going to be here for the next 2 hours, and we're going to be talking about Factions 2 being canceled, how poor Sony continues to treat their gamers, and of course, we're going to talk about the big news coming out of the Sega camp. Wow, wow, wow. If you are a Sega fan, you are in for a treat, because they are bringing back everything and anything that you could possibly imagine or remember from the Genesis days and moving forward. I could tell you, I have a theory that I'm going to tell everyone, and I don't know if it's true. Again, it's completely speculation, but we're going to get into that in a second. Web Dave, good morning, kind sir. How the H are you feeling?
Who the fuck is that guy?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for a good show. It's going to be fun today. We got some new guests in today, and a mega panel, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite tasty. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna give Sony the business, folks. And you know something, this is not a jump on the pony kind of a thing, pun intended. This is giving Sony the same business that anyone would ultimately and run to the front of the line to give Xbox if Xbox pulled half of what has happened this year. And like I said, folks, I like having stuff ready. I have a document that I pulled up that I wrote that kind of really just gives you paints a picture of what Sony has done in 2023. And since January 1st, well, they have not been the Sony of old. They're wounded, they're fangless, they're leaderless. They are there's no path forward outside of one game that we know. Wolverine, unfortunately, like I talked about, Insomniac was hacked, and a lot of information got out there. And like I said, I did see a couple of screeners of what Wolverine looks like. I'm not going to front. I'm stoked to play that Wolverine game. There's no doubt about it, because it is what I expect Sony. And that is that third person, over the shoulder, very cinematic type of game. That's what I like. So I'm very excited for that. But outside of that, folks, you have literally no idea what Sony is doing. And everyone's like, well, it's Sony. They're going to be okay, so they don't have to tell us. I disagree. I'm a customer, and I want to know. Because the same business you gave Xbox for not having, a path forward. And where are the articles, Silent Cipher, about management issues, because I know those were very apparent. And there was even a hashtag fire Phil Spencer because he made mention of it because he reads the bylines. Silent Cipher, good morning, kind sir. How you feeling?
Good morning. I'm doing great. It's a great morning. I like to end my night with a bunch of pony tears and wake up renewed and refreshed in the morning, and that is what I got today. Quite an experience out there.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, folks, there's two things. This is health advice, because these salty tears are literally flowing left, right, and center. Bring water so you can hydrate yourself, because you don't want to get dehydrated from these pony tears. And also, what you don't want to do is have your blood pressure medication next to you handy, because your sodium levels are going to go through the roof, because that's all we keep seeing. There is a lot of salt in these streets. And again, listen, we're going to have some fun with it, but the truth of the matter is we're going to give Sony the business that they deserve. Because again, and I say this all the time, and people are like, yeah, boom, but you're an Xbot. Yeah, I might be an Xbot. Xbox might be my platform of choice, but I probably have more Sony games and peripherals and consoles than most of these so-called fans. That's number one. And number two, the same business that I give Sony. Every time Microsoft did something that I did not like, I was one of the first ones to say, hey, let's have a podcast, let's talk about it, and put them in their place. But that's fine. We will get to that momentarily. Fly Guy, what's going on, brother? Welcome back to the program. I think this is your second or third time here. It's great to have you back.
How you guys doing? Yeah, it's number two. I'm excited to actually start to get to know more people in this community. It's been real fun so far.
Yeah, this community is incredibly welcoming. This particular chat, which we already have almost 330 people here, very welcoming, a bunch of gamers that just enjoy talking, listening, and interacting. And I think that you're going to dig it, man. So it's great to have you back, and we're going to get into it momentarily. Fuzzy Belvedere, I've seen you out there. You're out there, so you're skulking. You're hiding in the shadows, and you're doing the slit the throat when people need it. Good morning. How you feeling?
Good morning, everyone. Oh man, glad to be here with you guys. So much stuff going on. The app formerly known as Twitter. It's been pretty entertaining, but glad to be here. Awesome panel tonight or this morning. Yeah, I can't wait to get into some of these topics. Let's do this.
Yeah. Now, before we actually get into the topics and we run, I want to run a few things. We got to welcome in. You know him as the Crispy Truth, which he is going to be dropping his truth in A-bomb levels. Crispy Bomb, good morning, kind sir. How are you feeling?
Oh, the smile I have right now. Because there are some people that need to eat some crow, my friends.
Oh, there's a lot of crow to be eaten. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of receipts flying around on these streets, because there's one particular one that actually guaranteed that factions would be out before Starfield, and well, that did not land pretty well, in my opinion. And those receipts are forever. So close your Twitter accounts and come back as someone else, is all I'm saying.
You know what? It's a better receipt. What Naughty Dog posted, people. How about 343? How they look now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that they would have the audacity to say anything. And like I said, this is one of those instances where listen, you can be critical, and I am critical of 343. They're under new management. They are doing amazing things. Now, it was not the case when Halo Infinite was first shown. Obviously, there was a lot of dysfunction. There was mismanagement. People were sent packing as you were, whether that be through retirement because they didn't want to be bothered anymore, or because they were ultimately sent packing because they just couldn't deliver what was expected of them. Now, I'm not here to debate that. What I'm here to tell you is that change has come. Halo Infinite Season 5 is by far the best Halo that I have played since Halo 3. They continue to innovate. They continue to dominate the conversation. Halo is more popular now than a lot of big multiplayer games, and I'm glad to see it. And I think that even though I'm still honestly sickened and disappointment that there is no path forward, at least now, for single player, because ultimately, as much as I am a multiplayer Halo dude, I really like my single player experiences, and Infinite was phenomenal. And the fact that we're not getting anything past what we got is incredibly disappointing. But again, we know that they are working on Halo with Unreal Engine 5. We do know that there is going to eventually be a single player return to form. I just don't know when that is going to be. I have a strong suspicion that what I'm hoping for is not going to land into the next Xbox, and that is ultimately disappointing, to be quite honest. But before we get into topic number one, Double Barrel Gaming, mom and pop kind of an organization. Well, we have teamed up with a couple of folks to bring their wares to you. And the first commercial that I want to run, and this was done by Sean Labrie. I have teamed up with the Volari Gaming Pillow Company, and the owner of the company, Nadeem, is an absolute gentleman. He is a gamer through and through. And these gaming pillows work because I actually have not only an Iron Lord's pillow that was gifted to me by King David himself, but I was sent a pillow by Volari to try out. And folks, as someone who is surgically repaired from the L4, L5, and S1 of my spine, I can tell you that being hunched over playing games is just not good. And when I wear the pillow, I'm sitting perfectly straight. My hands are well rested, and I don't have any back issues. So check out there is a code in the trailer. You can go to VolariGamingPillow.com. You can type in the code DBG15 to get 15% off. And again, this is just hopefully it's just a start of people recognizing that this is a brand, meaning Double Barrel Gaming, that they want to team up with. And I do want to give a shout out to Volari Pillow Gaming Company for doing so. So check this out, folks. And well, there you go, folks. Thank you for 34 seconds of your time. If you are interested, go check out the VolariGamingPillow.com or Volari.com, and you can check out the gaming pillows. And remember, if you're going to buy, let them know that BoomStick sent you, and you can use the code DBG15 for 15% off of your entire order, which is pretty dope. But, guys, we got to get into this. Now, I think that in order for us to have a fruitful conversation with truth, I need to bring up the press release from Naughty Dog themselves. And folks, it's a bit long, but you have to bear with me because if I don't read it to you verbatim, you might miss why I'm so disappointed with this news. Now, granted, was I going to spend 18 days in factions? Probably not. But the fact that it's canceled and was promised as something that was on the way is why I'm disappointed. And and ultimately even more disappointed, and not surprisingly disappointed, in the gaming media. They should have taken this and run, but they were afraid to move against Sony, and that's the problem. So I have the update here. This is from the official Naughty Dog website, folks. And it says this. It's Naughty Dog, and it's dated December 14th, 2023. And the title of their article is An Update on The Last of Us Online. And it says this, folks, verbatim. We realize many of you have been anticipating news around the project that we have been calling The Last of Us Online. There's no easy way to say this. We've made the incredible difficult decision to stop development on that game. We know this news will be tough for many, especially our dedicated Last of Us factions community who have been following us, following our multiplayer ambitions. We are equally crushed at the studio as we are looking forward to putting it into your hands. We wanted to share with you some background on how we came to this decision. The multiplayer team has been in pre-production with this game since we were working on The Last of Us Part 2. I said that in the opening. Crafting an experience we felt was unique, had tremendous potential. As the multiplayer team iterated on the concept of The Last of Us Online during this time, their vision crystallized. The gameplay got more refined and satisfying, and we were enthusiastic about the direction in which we were headed. In ramping up for full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we had to put all of our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting the development on future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a solely live service game studio, or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. We are immensely proud of everyone at the studio that touched this project. The learnings and investments in technology from this game will carry into how we develop our projects and will be invaluable in the direction we are headed as a studio. We have more than one ambitious brand new single player game that we are working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more about what comes next when we're ready. Till then, we're incredibly thankful to our community for the support throughout the years. So now I'm going to drop it like it's hot because, folks, I am sorry to tell you that is a cheap Charlie, cowardly way to say we don't have the skill or the money or the manpower to do something that 343 has been shunned for, that the coalition has been shunned for, and the teams at Playground been shunned for, delivering a game like Forza Horizon, like Gears of War, and like Halo, all of these years delivering strong single player content at the same time delivering incredible, memorable multiplayer games. Folks, I don't specifically call people out here, and I will never start to do that on this channel, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. How many years have we heard, Silent Cypher, that we Gears and Forza and Halo, it's always the same. But you know what they've done? They've delivered. They've delivered both single player and multiplayer. And I got to tell you, that particular line, let me bring it up right here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it here. Where was it? The specific line of not being able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, meaning that they'd have to pick one path, I think is just a cop out. I really do. I mean, I know that they have well over 400 people at this studio, so they do have a sizable talent pool there. I just don't understand how a studio like Naughty Dog, that is supposed to be the tip of the spear. Let's call a spade, folks. They're considered to be the cream of the crop when it comes to Sony first party, and they've earned that. They have stellar games in their lineup. They've made amazing franchises. How is it? How is it that the media specifically are not calling them out for that kind of a comment? Silent, please take it away.
I I don't think a lot of people want to know the answer to why they're not calling them out, because I think we've been pretty clear on it in the past. Whether people like it or not, there's preference and bias in media, just like there is everywhere, and that's why we see these things happen. That's why when you go to IGN and you look at the articles right now about what just happened, notice that they're very sterile. They're
Yes.
extremely sterile. There is no personality, there is no emotion. And why is there no emotion? Because if they got in their feels about it, their bosses would flip out. Because who are they paid by? Also,
46% of their ad rev comes away of PlayStation. So there
yep.
you go. Yeah.
Also, just listening to explanation of the situation is laughable to me because it's funny. Everyone blasted on something like Call of Duty. Oh, it's the same old, blah blah blah. It's just another recycled product or whatever. Call of Duty released, so you have to give them props for that. The fact that they didn't just shutter because they couldn't handle the idea of having a single player and a multiplayer together. And like you guys were saying, you have to give someone like 343 more credit for the fact that they've managed to harness the situation and correct the path, right? Like Halo is in the best spot it's been for a long time. And whether I like it or not, like people are loving Halo. This one wasn't for me. I personally preferred the old Halo games, but I get it. Like I see why people are there. And it's got a massive community and it's well deserved because 343 has put in a lot of time. Instead of releasing a press release and saying, hey, sorry guys, we just can't do single player and multiplayer at the same time. It's too difficult. We're just not that good. I love how much of a cop out it is. Like, and the
Sorry,
fact that
you got to call a spade, brother. I mean, that's what it is.
well, and the fact that Bungie came in. Now, I find it laughable that Bungie was given control or given as much
Power.
responsibility and power as they received, because we've seen how that's gone recently too. But I find it pretty funny the fact that they came in. They're like, nah, this faction stuff, that ain't it. Sorry, this is garbage. And even they came out and said it. Hell, even Jim said it at the hearings, right? He came out and he said, no, man, our dev studios, they can't stand up to something like Call of Duty.
They're not as good as Call of Duty.
No, they're not as good.
Yeah.
And I guess apparently that's what we're finding out from them internally, is that they aren't good enough to handle, like you said, walking and chewing bubble gum at the same time. They can't multitask. So they'll go back to just doing their single player stories. You'll play on your PlayStation for 7 or 8 hours in a 6-month period, and then you'll play your multiplats. And that's all that system will be for.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. You mentioned IGN and the sterile response. Now, the one thing that we can talk about IGN, and I will continue to put them on blast because I do not care about them. They don't care about us, specifically Double Barrel Gaming. I know for a fact that me coming out and talking against them has closed some doors for the channel. And you know something? You know what I say to that? That's fine. You know what? I didn't want to be there if you didn't want me anyway. Now, granted, I will never say what those doors may or may have not been because I have not been offered them, but I had an inkling of what they could be. And because I have spoken out against them, well, those doors have closed permanently. And you know something? I'll sleep better at night knowing I didn't sell the channel out to be on something to get subs.
Yeah.
If you're sub to this channel, it's because you like the content, not because I cap for anybody.
Yep.
You want to say something, Silent?
I was just going to say, if your integrity is ever in question or you're concerned about the situation because it feels slimy, don't do it.
Oh, I would never do it.
That's better on you.
Listen, I have a high moral compass to a fault, and I am not afraid to talk about it, man. Listen, it is what it is. But I want to read the quote-unquote sterile response from IGN that you talked about. I have it in front of me, and it says breaking. Naughty Dog has announced that it has stopped development of the Last of Us multiplayer game and will focus on continuing to create single-player games from now on. Very vanilla, very, very, it's not apologetic, but it is as vanilla as, hey, this happened, we notified you, but we don't have a big boy opinion. Because normally, Silent Cypher, and please by all means correct me if I'm wrong, if the shoe had dropped on the other foot, and this was Xbox, it would have been breaking. Xbox disappoints millions of fans, they fail again.
Oh,
Oh no,
100%.
100%. That's exactly what it'd been.
Yeah, no, they would have. And the thing is the receipts are there. You don't have to search very long to find one of their articles where they completely bashed on Microsoft
Yep.
for the exact same thing that Sony is doing right now. And when they come out and they make any comment about it, it's sterile, it's washed, it's obviously been through multiple filters before it ever gets released. And even if there was personality or emotion in that article, it wouldn't be shown because that's not what they want to convey. They don't want to convey that Xbox is a good thing and Sony makes mistakes as well.
Yeah. Listen, you don't have to, go out of your way to point out the mistakes because nobody likes to do that, right? But it's a proven fact, Dave, and I want to bring Dave into the conversation because Dave,
Mhm.
there are two people I want to bring in. One I want to give a shout out to, and of course is J Rock. J Rock put out a tweet yesterday, which I think is brilliant. Jay, I know you're listening, brother. Shout out to you. He says, I keep telling you, gremlins, to appreciate the studios you have over at Xbox. These guys are giving you great multiplayer and single player experiences at launch. See, and there isn't a lie detected. You know, the GIF, no lies detected. Well, it's right there. But I want to bring in Ryan McCaffrey of IGN because he made a comment, and apparently, well, he's on a blocking spree. I mean, he already has me blocked, and well, that's fine. But J Rock sent this to me, and of course, I want to read it verbatim. Dave, I want you to talk about this failure at management at both Sony and Naughty Dog that no one is talking about. But again, if it was Xbox, it's a management problem. Hashtag fire Phil Spencer, right? Well, Ryan McCaffrey, the Xbox guy, this is what he had to say. The writing has been on the wall for The Last of Us after recent reports about it. And so this formal cancelization isn't a surprise. I certainly don't mind Naughty Dog continuing to focus on what it does best, making incredible single-player games. Is that right there, fella? So it's okay to string your community along for years.
Mhm.
Since the development of, by the way, Last of Us Part 2, which was on the PS4, and all of those years, wait and wait and wait. We're going to be an update. Oh yeah, it's coming. Don't worry about it. It's going to be great. And then out of nowhere, there's no update. We're canceled. Where is the distaste for that kind of rhetoric, that kind of behavior from the tip of the spear studio known as Naughty Dog? Dave, take it away, sir.
Yeah, well, the I guess that's what Ryan gets paid for is to throw cover and shade over Sony because that's what it seems like. He's basically making downplaying anything that goes wrong, and that's bullshit. It really is. We know that it's big news and that it's it should be handled in a different way. But he's softballing it, and the only thing I can think of is, I mean, he can block me too for all I care. It's pretty sad, and it just goes to the overall quality of their journalism, as in that they don't have any quality in journalism anymore. It's IGN is truly a joke, and his comments, for whatever reason, he like you said, if it was the Xbox, anything that canceled or whatever, the sky's falling, it's the world's over, Christmas is canceled, the whole Simpson thing. It would be bad, but for them, it's just another, another way to, well, we have to put this in a good light for Sony. They must really be getting paid some good money over there. That's all I can say, because their cap is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you can't just be truthful on the story, and we can all see it that Sony's in trouble, and nobody wants to admit it, until I and man, I wish King was here for the simple fact that he'd be like, there isn't going to be a PlayStation 6, and that's what he would tell you. And he would say, just wait another year and they're going to be an app. That's what King would say. I'm more and more these things happening. I'm more and more thinking that is actually what might happen to the Sony brand. And if these other rumors are true, even Jez was kind of commenting on it. The ones that the Giant Bomb was talking with Grub, saying that there may not be there's not going to be a mid-gen upgrade. They just may come in and bring the next generation out a whole year or two sooner than PlayStation, just to completely undercut them and destroy them again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, do it.
I think you're going to see a 360 situation
Yes.
happen. And again, if you listen to what Grub and what's his partner's name? Oh my God, Mike Minotti.
Yeah, Mike
Minotti.
Yeah, Mike. I love Mike. Mike is he's
funny.
awesome. I love the
Arby's
pair of them.
guy.
They're really good dudes. They specifically said last night that he's heard that the next Xbox is 2026.
Yep.
If that falls into if that becomes a reality, they're going to jump the gun of Sony like they did with the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, except then it was a year. This might actually be 2. Sony, because remember, Sony is working on a Pro, supposedly that's coming out next holiday. But
I think it's what they need to do. To be honest with you, I think
they need something.
The mid-gen refresh thing, that's absolutely stupid. That's not the way to go. Stepping over the situation to get incredible new foothold on the market. That's what they need to do. That's to me. And one last thing on the quote unquote topic that is the game being canceled. What is the guy's name? I can't think of it now. Save my life. It wasn't Rock. It was.
Are you talking about J-Rock?
No. It was the other guy
J-Tech.
No,
J-Dub, J-Bari.
It's no J. Hold up, stop. It's no J. It was the guy that was like, he was asking for Sony, where's factions? Where's factions? I want factions. Where's my factions? Where, and literally he was like, he put a tweet out again of him asking for factions, and then
a few moments.
The Red Dragon.
Then we got the bombshell that was like, oh yeah, by the way, this you quit asking for it. It's not coming out. It's done. We're done. We're moving on. I can't remember his name. Save my life, but
no, that's all right.
Everybody in the chat's got it. Persona. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Persona. Yeah.
His was amazing
too. And he at least was on the right track, because he was at least asking.
Yeah.
Where was this game? He was at least trying to keep them accountable for the brand that he loves, and I commend him for that. But unfortunately, just wasn't there.
Such is life, indeed. Such is life. Well,
thank you, Chad. You guys rock.
Blew up right in his face too, because he put that concept art up where he's like, which concept art looks better?
Yeah, that was
Blade or The Last
one.
of Us.
The one that's coming out, or the one that's never coming out.
Didn't age well.
He actually did that before the announcement. It just was really bad timing. Like
8 hours before. 8 hours before that. I've never seen something rot that fast.
Yeah, I was like, do. Like you just lost the game show, pal. I don't know what to tell you. Look, I do want to bring in Crispy Bomb, but before we do, I got to catch up on the super chats because there's been quite a bit of them. Chris 713, who's been a channel member, folks, for 8 months. Thank you so much for the generosity, Chris. He says, now we know why God of War DLC was free. I mean, yeah. there are a couple of theories as to why it was free. One, they just keep having bad news after bad news, and that's definitely a possibility. But when you look at, like for instance, they raised their price of $40 for their service. They put nothing in there to validate the additional $40 for the top tier. Even the bottom tier went up $20. It went from $60 to $80. What am I getting? What are you giving me for 20 extra bucks a year? Ugats is what you got. Nothing. But listen, we'll continue that conversation in a second. Highlander 1001. This gentleman is been so generous, and he continues to do so. I think this is like the 5th show in a row, folks, that he has gifted 5 double barrel gaming subscriptions.
Hey, Boom.
Yes, sir.
He dropped another 5.
Oh, so yep, there it is.
That's
It's a total
10.
of 10.
Yeah, and then you
Highlander,
have,
brother, I don't even know what to say, dude. That is crazy generous of you, and we here truly appreciate support. Again, it allows us to do the giveaways, and I'll talk at the end of the next Friday show, folks. Circle your calendar. That's the big one. That's the one that we all been waiting for. That is the 6th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick, and we're giving away $1,500 in 2 hours, the most we've ever given away at any one time on this channel's history, and we've been doing this for 6 years. But we'll get more into that towards the end of the show. Simon Brandy drops an outstanding £5 super chat and says, the media are shills already. Good old Metro downplayed, suggesting nobody wanted factions, canceled in favor of single-player games, shaking my head. Yeah, that's a giant lie. And Metro, well, like I said, Metro, they are that free newspaper in Times Square in that box that's sitting there that has like gum on it that no one actually touches and opens. That's what Metro is.
that's the magazine you reach for when you're out of toilet paper. So.
That, or you want to put the kitty litter, like,
Yeah,
hey, cat,
exactly.
go poop and pee on this. You're
Got to
good.
lie in the bird cage and wipe your ass with it.
Shred it up and drop it in the bird cat. I love it. This is great. And Chris R., generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I kind of agree with Ryan in more of a cynical way. Nothing would ever make me care about multiplayer only multiplayer only Last of Us. Single player, please. I mean, you're not wrong, and I see your point of view. The problem is that this isn't a new concept. The Last of Us factions has a fan base, and it was widely popular during the PlayStation era where The Last of Us 1 was released. It was incredibly well received. It was popular. People that the fans of SOCOM and Killzone gravitated towards that because, listen, I get it. Sony is a single player story driven type of machine, and they do it really well. And they have incredible IP to back that up. But you cannot say that there is not, even if it's a subset, even if it's a portion, even a small portion of players, they still need to be represented if you are a fan of multiplayer. And what you ultimately did is say that we are this, we have, and you can't have this, you can't have multiplayer because that's not who we are. You got to do different things. They promised this. They told people that this was on the way, and they kept leading on and leading on and leading on, and eventually to a cancellation. It's just not good business. But I understand your point, Chris. Well spoken, sir. Juan in the chat drops an outstanding $20 super chat. He says, here's a conspiracy for you. Could you imagine if the day before was actually an MVP for factions? The timing for both games getting canceled was too much of a coincidence for me. Haha, just joking. Or maybe not. I mean, I don't know if they correlate with one another, but there are a couple of cancellations that J-Rock put out there that happened under the Sony umbrella. And this is this year, folks, and this is where we're going to get the crispy bomb of how out of control, how spiraling out of control Sony is. Under Sony this year, you have had the cancellation of factions. You've had the cancellation of 5 other gas games. You've had the cancellation of Abandoned, Real-Time Experience, and just recently, the cancellation of Knights of the Old Republic. Now, granted, that wasn't a first-party studio, but that was an exclusive to Sony. Something's going on over there. But let me continue. We have Dean Rivera dropped a very generous $5 super chat and says, looking for a good official third-party wired Xbox controller recommendations. Man, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't normally go third-party. I go third-party when it comes to my Switch controllers because there is, what is the one that we use? We have a lot of like Animal Crossing ones that Mrs. Boom and I use from there. Sony, I don't go third-party either. I'll look into it and I'll drop you a DM Dean, and I'll see if I'll do some research and see if I can find one for you. I mean, there are several really good ones out there, but I stick to Xbox. That's just me. Juan has gifted 5 double barrel gaming memberships. Brother, that is crazy generous of you. Thank you very much for that. Our good brother, Kenta Wilson, drops an outstanding $7 super chat and says, Xbox is on fire. Cannot wait for Blade. Indeed. And Blade is going to be dope. If you saw those artwork stills, there's one where if you're not really looking at it, it's kind of like a Where's Waldo thing. It's the one where they're showing the vamps going into a club, which is like something like right out of the first film. If you're not looking for it, you miss Blade hiding around the corner. And it's because he's shadowed, but it's blue. So if you look quickly, you miss it. I think that's suggesting that we're going to have some serious stealth stuff in here, and that's exactly what Arcane Leon is known for. I am incredibly hyped for it. Highlander Love One shows his generosity once again with a $5 super chat and says Microsoft has more multiplayer games on PlayStation than Sony does. Oh my God, you're 100% right. Sony owns Destiny, and Destiny is losing players, and Call of Duty is getting players. Yeah, I mean, listen. Someone said it the other day. I don't remember who it was. Who saves this supposed savior? Meaning Bungie was supposed to be the savior of gas and multiplayer, and they're kind of shit the bed. So go, whatever. Sean Johnson drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, have no fear. Team Blue, Last of Us Super Turbo Championship Edition, I'm sure is in development. That is the quote of the year. Sean Johnson, you are the winner, sir. Thank you so much for the generosity. That is the winning comment. But Crispy Bomb, we got to hear the truth here. We got 700 people here. People are waiting to hear the crispy truth regarding what has happened and the media covering. Again, I'm going to pull up the story from a few of the credible news sources that I think are relevant to the conversation. But what are your thoughts on their excuse, if you will, for canceling The Last of Us Part 2 factions?
Can we all agree that Naughty Dog ain't as good as y'all think? I'm just saying, they're not. This is the cream of the crop. This is PlayStation's studio. Santa Monica is right there as well. Let's be honest here. Who's delivering? Who's not? Okay. Like, I read that and I was actually like, man, it sounded like it was going to be something pretty special, to be honest with you. It's kind of ridiculous that people look at what Xbox does and has done and continues to do. And yeah, you could say Gears and Halo. Hey, they look a lot better now. And thanks, Naughty Dog, for that, because you just told us. And I'm going to tell you right now, the way I look at it, this is their scale-bound moment. They said, you know what? Multiplayer don't matter. That's what they just said to you. So if you like multiplayer games, you might as well play COD. Guess Jim was right, wasn't he? Wasn't he right?
He did say that they can't compete with COD. He did say that.
I'm just saying, and all of a sudden, we get this right before Christmas. Christmas present. Here you go from Sony. Yeah. You know, let's be honest here. They could have just said much less things, but they said it all, and it's screenshotted now. And we have it all. Even if they delete the post, we have it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am sick and tired of people acting like that single player is the only thing that matters. How about both? We've had that for a while on Xbox. What do you have to say about that? It is ridiculous that I see people damage controlling this shit. Excuse my language, but seriously, it is ridiculous. It is unnecessary. Call it out. My brother BitCloud been calling it out for years. I've been calling it out for years. Give me some multiplayer. I don't care what happened with Zipper Interactive. Bring SOCOM back in some way. Pay the money. Twisted Metal. Where's that at? I'll tell you right now, it's been dormant for so long. You had success with a TV show. Where's that at? Where's Resistance at? What are you doing? Okay? You are alienating your own self by acting like multiplayer does not matter. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have to just start doing it. Build the wheel first, then make a new wheel that may be better. But they are just like, nah, we're done. And this is one of those things where I say I was intrigued for a minute, and now I'm not. Now you just killed my intrigue. When am I going to buy a PlayStation again? I don't know, because you don't know how to make a multiplayer and single player game all at once. And you can't do it. And you just told us because Naughty Dog said it. And that's your king. That's not mine.
You know, you're right, and you are our multiplayer expert, if you will. And you said something very interesting. You used the word alienating, and I want to touch on that for a second, because I understand that when you take certain platforms, they are identified in certain ways. Nintendo is dominated by the fact that it is a family game machine, right? Now, it has its adult games on there as well through third party, and they've even had some, some edgy stuff. Like you look at like a Bayonetta, right? Like Bayonetta is incredibly violent.
Agreed.
And right, so that's what they're Crispy. That's what they're known for. Xbox is known as the multiplayer box because it's now getting its feet, steadfast for an onslaught of single player games. We talked about it almost the entire week this week about what they have coming. Blade, the new announcement, the exclusive from Arcane Leon, is another example of they are going to be delivering more single player, story driven, adult theme type of content, which is what a lot of us have been asking for. But with that said, even when they did not have the Sony-esque first party single player games, they did have first party like a Gears, like a Halo, like a Forza, like a State of Decay, like a Minecraft, like a Sea of Thieves, like a Grounded. These are some of them are gas games, some of them are not single player story driven, but they do have single player elements. As a matter of fact, Sea of Thieves just launched a single player campaign where it's PvE, which is what I'm going to start playing. State of Decay can be played on its own, but it's better in a group, but that is also a service game. And obviously you go back to the three pillars that make Xbox who they are, and that is Halo, Gears, and Forza. And even though they have been shunned and poked and prodded and made fun of for that, they can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And I find it oddly unbelievable that no one has called Sony out for, like you said, alienating an entire genre, meaning multiplayer does not exist. And multiplayer only exists on PlayStation through multiplats. Why isn't that being called out? Because if that was, like I said, I'm sorry to say, folks, if we're gonna get crazy here and start comparing fruits, let's compare apples to oranges, because there is similarities there. And I do have a story pulled up in front of me from Paul Tassi that I want to drop into the lap of Fly Guy. I want to get your hot take on this in a second, and then Fuzzy, we'll get to you in a second, brother. Anything else you want to kind of add before I move on to the next panel member there, Crispy Bomb?
I just want to say I've been calling out Xbox for years. Like, I'm not a single player guy. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't discount people's love for it. And Microsoft, from what I've seen lately, has listened.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, It's not about just me. I have the games I like, and I know that those games right now are just cooking like Gears. It's cooking hard now. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, when you guys see this, if you don't like it, tough. Because I'm gonna like it. I've seen them do some amazing things on consoles that probably aren't capable of doing these amazing things, but somehow it looks that good on my TV. And I say this, and I ask yourself, if you're a PlayStation gamer, what multiplayer games are you playing? Are you playing Madden? Are you playing Call of Duty? What else are you playing? Are you waiting for Halo to come there? Because you never know. You know, Xbox is one of those brands that says, you know what? We don't want to look like that. Let's throw them a bone. You never know. You know what I mean? But that's what I love about them. They do things that nobody else is willing to do. PlayStation said, hey, we're going to make this amazing thing. And that's in the Naughty Dog post. Read it again because he read it for you. Boom, read it for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, what they said is they had something special. And then Sony was like, nah. Or you want to say Bungie, fine. Nah. What has Bungie done lately? Come on. I mean,
they
seriously.
have failed. But they have failed. Is what
And my last point is that Sony needs to find its own realm to be able to balance themselves, which I've said many times, and they haven't found it yet. I honestly wish Jimbo was back there. You know what I mean? He wasn't. I mean, you want to say retired or fired? I don't care. He's gone. All right. And I'm going to tell you right now, he was onto something, but he went way too far one way. How about you just make a wheel that can do all of the things that you needed to do? And
I mean, walk and chew bubblegum at the same time.
I really thought that what they were doing with The Last of Us multiplayer would, Last of Us Online would be something that would really do that. And it's a shame that this has happened. And it's unnecessary. They need to relook at what they're doing, because I'm going to tell you right now, single player only goes so far. It only makes so much money. And this is a company at the end of the day. Seriously.
No, I mean, there are some finite points to what you're saying, because look, the reality is like, for instance, depending on who you ask, Spider-Man sold 5+ million copies, right? And that's 5 million, if anything, is a lot of money. And I would consider that to be a success. Granted, if it would have launched on PC at the same time, they probably would have sold 10 million. Now, they didn't. Now, PC is going to come out a year from now, maybe sooner, maybe later. We don't know. But they sold 5+ million. Why that may not be the greatest of stats is this. This single-player game, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, I make no excuses for how much fun I'm actually having with it, right? None whatsoever. When you consider that there are over 50 million PlayStation 5s, and I'm undercutting it. I think they have announced it's more than that. I just don't know specifically the number, if it's hit 60 or it hasn't, but it's well over 50 million consoles. 5 million to 50 million is 10%. Okay? That is not a great stat when you consider this game is an exclusive to the PlayStation 5 platform. 10% of your populace. This is a Spider-Man game. The Spider-Verse just launched last year, or was it this year? Widely successful. The third film is going to be even bigger, right? We know that there's a multiverse thing happening. We know that they may, thanks to the leaks of Insomniac, they're making an actual Spider-Verse game in that art style, which is dope AF. It's not that great when you consider that 90% of your fan base did not buy the single player game. This is where the multiplayer aspect comes in. So I want to bring in Fly Guy, but I want to use the Forbes article from Paul Tassi, who, if you don't know who he is, you should. He is a senior contributor at Forbes. He talks about he writes news and opinions on video games, television, movies, and internet. Now, his Fly Guy, I'm going to let you run rampant with this one. His title of his article is "The Last of Us Factions is a disaster, is a massive misfire by Sony." That's what it says. And he goes on to say this: Naughty Dog has canceled development of The Last of Us Factions, which they're calling The Last of Us Online. They posted a lengthy statement that ended with a particular pungent passage that sums up a larger issue with Sony and a wider industry and the wider industry right now. And obviously, I'll read it verbatim because it is context. This is from Naughty Dog. In ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we'd have to pull our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development on future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a solely live service studio, or continue to focus on single player narrative games that have defined the Naughty Dog's that has defined Naughty Dog's heritage. Now, this is Paul Tassi's response. He says this, Fly Guy: Naughty Dog is saying outright that they are rejecting becoming a live service developer to support a game like this, instead of focusing on the single player games they're known for, where their last project, The Last of Us Part 2, was one of the most awarded games of all time, and the series spawned a show that has been nominated for 24 Emmys. Finally, he goes, all of this rejects horribly on Sony, who previously announced that 60% of its budget would be devoted to making 12 live service games over the next few years. Now, that number has been cut to 6, and with the other 6 delayed indefinitely, and perhaps now down to 5. What are your personal thoughts of the announcement of The Last of Us Last of Us 2 Factions being canceled?
Well, personally, to be completely and utterly honest, similar to Crispy Mom, I am a multiplayer player. I mainly play multiplayer games. I played Factions 1 on PlayStation 3 and 4, and I love Factions. The fact that it has been canceled and is really the main game that I've been looking forward to when it comes to PlayStation since PlayStation 5 came out, that's highly disappointing. And if this was Xbox that actually canceled, let's say they stopped working on Halo, it would be the worst thing in the world. It would definitely the articles would read a lot worse. Where what's the guy's name that the article you just read?
Paul Tassi of Forbes.
Paul Tassi actually tackled the article just how it should be.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
He's being honest and upfront. Like you can't have all these games as a service games that you say are coming out, then all of a sudden half of them are now canceled, and you said the other 6 are delayed like that. It makes it look like their studios are inadequate. You can only make single player games, like you said, Gears, single player, multiplayer. I'll play Gears right now and have the time of my life. Halo, single player, multiplayer. Like Xbox has been able to do this. Matter of fact, Xbox 360 kind of like ushered in the online playing. And
Indeed.
Xbox has been doing this for years now. So I don't understand why PlayStation hasn't gotten to a point where they can put out one multiplayer, just one multiplayer game. They don't have any. And to make it bad with Naughty Dog, they actually supported Uncharted Online for a long time. Don't get me wrong. Not saying Uncharted Online is a bad game, but if you guys know you're trying to come out with some big ambitious project like The Last of Us Factions, why isn't that more of a focal point? I don't know. Maybe I could be crazy.
I don't think that you are. But I kind of want to really just take a second to rewind something. You yourself as a gamer are a Last of Us Online fan, so you played it back in the days. Okay, now. Can I ask this? I know that obviously you must be a PlayStation fan, like a lot of us are. Did you specifically buy the PS5 because of what they're known for? Single player, or did you buy it with the hopes that they would continue single player, but also, as promised by Naughty Dog Neil Druckmann himself, when he showed off some artwork, if I'm not mistaken, buy into this because you're like, okay, Factions 1 was dope. I played for how many hours I played. I'm going to put that and a bag of chips on the second one. Is that how it kind of went for you?
So for me, every time I buy a PlayStation specifically because there are games that I feel like they will have that I'll enjoy. I'm not really a single player, but some of those games like God of War, Uncharted, these are still good games. However, those good games still, for me, I still need to keep me coming back. I need an online portion. That's it.
And that's fair. That's fair because that's something that we've heard from Crispy numerous times where he's a single player guy. Obviously, we know he's our Gears guy, right? He's a Gears fan through and through. He steps up. He plays that. He's played the multiplayer like it's going out of style. For me, I'm the Halo guy. Like I got 18 days in Halo Infinite. I make no apologies of it. I cannot wait to get back to it. I'm just I'm just playing a lot of games. And speaking of games that I'm playing, I want to do a public shout out to this Scott Gamer dude. Listen, he is someone that's here each and every day that we do the shows. So of course we're incredibly grateful that he enjoys the show. But he did something for me that I don't like accepting gifts because I would rather give than take. But he purchased for me and he surprised me last night the Baldur's Gate 3 Deluxe Edition, which I just started playing. I'm an hour in, and I'm very much enjoying it. I'm gonna be upfront. I picked the easiest path because I'm not a CRPG guy, so I'm kind of doing the not a lot of fighting cinematic stuff, even though I'm actually doing a lot of fighting actually. So I don't know what that's about, but I did I'm playing on easy. I don't apologize for it because I'm not a CRPG guy, but I gotta be honest with you. It's kind of dope, especially because, like I said, my brother and my brother Neo Mento's playing it. He's like, dude, I think you're gonna dig this because you're rolling dice, and there is a DM talking in your ear saying when you roll up, like if you know what I'm talking about, not the DM on Twitter. I mean, a dungeon master is speaking over it. I'm a D&D kid. I did the pencil and paper stuff, with the miniatures back in the days. I am liking it. I did not know if I was going to. So again, shout out to Scott Gamer Dude for gifting that. Is very, very kind and generous of you. But Fuzzy, I want to paint a picture for you because this is the one I was saving for you specifically because I know how pointed you are. Where I have a conundrum with this whole Naughty Dog thing is they come out and they promise this Last of Us Part 2 Factions or Last of Us Online, as it's known. And they have been leading and stringing on the fans forever, right? And why I am perplexed by this and why I think ultimately they knew 3 years ago this thing was canceled, but instead of being real men about it, they were cowardice and they held it under wrap. And what did they do? Well, they sold us The Last of Us Remake Part 1, right? And now in 2024, in January, I think it is, we're going to get The Last of Us Part 2 remake. So I'm perplexed here. You have a mode that was widely popular with your Xbox fans in Factions 1, right? They probably could have and should have simply just remade Factions 1 because the blueprint is there. If you're going to remake The Last of Us Part 1, you could have at least remade The Last of Us Factions 1 just to say, okay, folks, look, we're just not that skilled enough to be able to do this whole gas game thing, because that's not what our studio's core is. But we did do something that you did like. Here is Factions 1 redone. They didn't do that, though. They kept telling us and kept telling the fans of this particular genre for The Last of Us that no, we're still working on it. Don't worry, it's going to be amazing. We got the receipts, folks. And instead of delivering what people have been asking for, Fuzzy Belvedere, they're bringing us remakes.
Yeah. Doesn't
Let's
sound
talk
like
about
they,
it.
yeah, it doesn't sound like they are having a difficulty picking between single player games and multiplayer games, considering they've been just doing remakes as of late. I wanted to come at this with from a different angle, and somebody in the chat had already made mention about the day before. Let's rewind a bit. When they released, The Last of Us 1 remastered, it should have had Factions as a remaster as well, to kind of wet the whistle, keep us on the edge of our seat until they can do this Factions 2, which should have came out when The Last of Us 2 came out. But they said they separated and whatnot. That's fine. Like you said, the remaster of 1 should have been there, or Factions 1 should have been remastered with the remaster of The Last of Us 1. If you look at how popular the day before was, and even when people were yelling from the bell towers that it was a scam, how that thing was wish listed until Steam pulled it down, or they pulled it down, whatever the case may be, there is an interest for that genre. So if you see on PC, and they already have the numbers of what they saw with Factions, the original one on PlayStation itself, and knowing that it would be a bigger experience, let's say, they would probably be able to increase those numbers. But seeing how that popular that other game was on Steam, and considering they're trying to do this, everything move towards PC, it would have made sense to actually go through with Factions 2, regardless of what Bungie said. Like it boggles my mind that Bungie gave their 2 cents when they have a hard time with their own IP. Like, I get it. They're probably one of the leading studios out there that was available for sale to be able to do that for Sony. But if the first Factions was a fan favorite, I would say, well, then stick with that blueprint. Figure out how you can monetize it a little bit instead of going this grandiose thing that they were probably working on that took this extra time. Like, I don't understand when it comes to a popular genre. Like, you can see the writing on the wall. Like, people want something that's like The Division meets The Last of Us. And the day before was that, example, be it that it was kind of, scripted assets and stuff like that for that original trailer. But even still, all they had to do was just make, small monetization things that they've seen from other, platforms or other third parties that are successful on their platform. Make gun skins, make cosmetic skins for the character, have it where maybe you do like the day before and you have your own, apartment or tent or little shed or whatever that you build upon. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard with the amount of time that it's taken for them to remaster these games to be able to get something figured out that would be at least serviceable and then build upon it. Like, there are other examples of games that are, games as a service that come out a little content light at the beginning, but if you stick with it, seeing how the community is and taking the feedback from the community, it would make their task even easier, because the community would kind of help steer them in the right direction. What things that they were looking for or hoping for from this experience, if they're unable to, pick or pinpoint what they need to do for release, that's something that the community would have helped them with. And they have an anxious or an active community that was, basically drooling for this thing with just concept art. And people used to joke about people being excited about Starfield. Like, you don't even know what it is. And it's like, well, how are you going to be excited for Factions when all you have is concept art? But it's Naughty Dog. They're the, what it's funny to me in all sense of the timing of all of this, that they couldn't get this figured out, and to lead their fans on like they have. Some of them, like Persona and a few others, have called them out, prior, like, hey, where's factions? Like, I always remember, what's his name, BG, always asking, like, hey, concept art is cool, but when do we see gameplay? When do we get a release date? Like, I don't understand why a lot of people weren't on that same, podium saying the same things. Like, hey, when is this?
It's called an industry double standard.
Yeah.
And this is exactly when you look, okay, gamers, we're fickle, right? We're going to go one way or the other. That's who we are. That's gamers, right? You're gonna like who you're gonna like. You're gonna rep for who you like. You're gonna rah for your team. That's what gamers are. See, where this is an actual problem is Xbox, and this is where the Xbox tax / bias comes into play, and it's very apparent right now today, Friday, December 15, 2023, because I'm here to tell you that the amount of articles that have come out against this very, very bad presentation by PlayStation and Naughty Dog are far and few in between. But I can tell you that if the news would have dropped that this was a Microsoft or Xbox thing, I can tell you that this morning, as soon as we woke up, there would have been 31 articles from here, there, and everywhere. Please continue.
Especially with the fact that they haven't really officially announced The Last of Us 3. Like, okay, if they're going to go that single player path, that's fine. Give us some info on The Last of Us 3 then. Like, at least let us know that you're actually working on something other than a remaster. Like, you've been like going over these, I guess storyboards or whatever they've been doing for these past couple of years for Factions 2 and decided, this is a bad idea. Let's just pull the plug. But what else are they been doing? Like, is The Last of Us 3 actually something that will be released this generation, or is it going to be, the launch title for next generation if there's a PS6? But I just don't get it. Where, like you said, the media, they're silent because this is the media's preferred platform. It's the the market leader, and that's fine. But I remember when Xbox was the market leader at times, when they would do stuff in the 360 era, like the Red Ring and a few other things, and people had a conniption. The same media still had a conniption about stuff. So I don't understand why Sony's like this sheltered child or protected, celebrity or something. I don't understand why there's not this, like, hey, is it mismanagement? Because the minute there's something wrong with an Xbox studio, it's mismanagement. The minute
Fire
that
Phil
there's
Spencer.
yeah, exactly. And the minute there's something wrong with like a PlayStation studio, oh, they make bangers and everything will be all right. 1,000 people laid off.
You know what's
that's no
sad,
problem.
Fuzzy? You know what's sad, Fuzzy, is that we few apparently have watched Sony kill many companies
Yeah.
right before our eyes, and people act like, oh, they're the one we need to shelter. No, that's not the case. They deserve every bit of smoke they get because they killed Sega, and I've watched it right before my eyes.
Well, Sega is rising from their grave. We're going to talk about that on the second half of the show.
Hey,
'cause
Fuzzy, it's Fire Jim Ryan time, right?
He's already
he's already fired. I mean,
they took
sorry.
his suit and everything. He's just left with a t-shirt. So,
he always got the shirt on his back. Ooh. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No. Listen, listen. We can poke fun, and it doesn't have to be like disingenuous or anything. We're just having fun with it. Yeah, Jim Ryan, he wanted to take the company into the right. See, guys, that's the thing. When you look at how Phil Spencer makes these moves, a lot of the studios, and this is what's interesting, and no one really talks about this, right? Phil Spencer looks at studios that he has a fond memory of their games. And obviously, he is a big part of why Xbox still exists. We know that he literally threw it on his back and saved Xbox. That's a confirmed fact. And that's why he's holding the position of head of Microsoft Gaming. And when you look at some of the moves that he continues to do, it's because he is a gamer. He's also a C-level executive as well. So he's wearing both banners and he's doing a real good job at it. Jim Ryan, we have to understand something. Hate him, like him, love him, whatever. He's a business guy. That doesn't make him a bad man. It just makes him he's a businessman. He couldn't equate the love of gaming that we have and the passion that goes into it, because some of the things he's a terrible. I'll tell you this right now, as someone that worked in community affairs for the NYPD, and you got to be pointed and you have to be able to get out there in front of the people and don't be embarrassed and just let it rip. That's why I think I technically I had training to do that. That's why I'm in front of you 5 days a week, and I can roll out of bed to do it because A, I love doing this, but B, I have training. He wasn't a good speaker. And some of the things that he said were ignorant from a businessman, non-gamer point of view. And his ideology was not to put a factions and make that a priority, because the gamers, the PlayStation gamers are clamoring for it. He don't give a crap. He wants to know how much money he can make on it. And he gambled on gas games because he saw how well Microsoft and specifically Xbox is doing it. Xbox is hitting on all switches, and the media and you PlayStation fans made fun of Grounded. Stupid game, no one's gonna play. Really? Right? You made fun of Sea of Thieves. And listen, sure, did it launch bare bones? It absolutely did. But look at it now, 30 million players strong. And now, on top of Grounded, on top of Halo, on top of Sea of Thieves, on top of the multiple Minecraft games, they now have Call of Duty, they have Diablo 4, they have Overwatch 2. I mean, they are hitting on all switches. And now, because they're able to have those development roles way back then, do you see all the games that are coming out in the next 3 years? They're all single player story driven games, something we've been asking for. Listen, Xbox is doing it right now. Sony is not. But I want to talk about Sega, gentlemen. I think I've gotten to almost everybody here. Shout out to TSWS Gaming. That is Ham Solo. Gentleman Gamer, you should be subscribed to that man's channel. Him and his partner are just they're great. They're just amazing podcasters. And, as a matter of fact, I got to get both of them on the show. I think we're going to try and set that up before to open up the year. Love to get both of you guys on the show at the same time. I know his co-host is in Africa. I don't know if we can correlate the times, but we're going to figure it out, Ham. So don't even sweat that. Shout out to Spider-Man 356 in the chat. But listen, let me catch up on super chats because there's been quite a few of them. And of course, I will. I'm going to run another commercial. I have teamed up with Nerd Propellant. He is a crafter of original gaming IP items that are collectibles. They are dope. I have a commercial. I'm going to run it. It's only about 15 seconds. But if you're looking for that last minute gift for your favorite gamer, you definitely got to check it out. And we also have a discount code that goes along with it. He has provided that. And I think actually during the Christmas episode, he is going to be giving away one of his art pieces as a part of it. So we're gonna get more information on that in a second. But let's shout out. My name is Mud. Well, it shouldn't be, sir, because he has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Dude, that is crazy nice of you. Thank you for the generosity. We have a Dork 50 drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says Sony chose the worst generation not to learn how to do gas. Too late now. Strong sentiment for sure. Dean Rivera drops an additional $5 super chat and says the FTC trial showed that Sony's single player games cost $200 to $250 million to make and don't always sell. That business model is not sustainable. Indeed, it is not. John Wolf, Mr. Slander himself, Latino Heat, as he's known in these streets, has dropped a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Why did they turn off comments? Cowards." And I think he's talking about the Naughty Dog. Yeah, they did
Yes,
turn
yep.
off comments, and well, they were getting the business. And you know something? Even though there was probably some console war rhetoric in there that they didn't want to hear, but there was probably a lot of comments from fans like Fly Guy who actually look forward to this game. And well, they can't even comment. And I think that is gross. Shame on you, Naughty Dog. Shame on you, Neil Druckmann, for not being forthcoming and telling people that this thing was a bag of shit from the beginning. Sorry. That's just the way it is. Oh wow. Cypher Type 1 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says PlayStation is operating like BlackBerry and Blockbuster. Holy crap. That's a real shout out right there.
Damn.
Blind to where the industry is headed until the last minute. Hopefully it doesn't end the same way. Dude, that is wow. That is straight up facts. And of course, the generosity cannot be outdone. Highlander 001, who has already this week, I think he donated like 20 or 30 Double Barrel Gaming subs, which is ridiculously generous. Folks, he has donated another 5. So please, for the love of Joe, if you get one of them, thank this man in the chat. And again, if obviously you're gifted it for the month. If you like the content, maybe you'll decide to hang around. And if not, there's no hard feelings. But thank you, Highlander 001, for the continued support. And Splendiferous, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Bring that Sega smoke. They are still my favorite brand." And we're going to get to that smoke right now. But I'm going to run the commercial, if you don't mind, folks, for Nerd Propellant on Twitter. They're very good friends with. I'm very good friends with them. They have gifted me when he was putting his business together, which I have is a Resident Evil 4 Shadow Box. It is dope. I do have it in storage only because, well, as you can see, I'm in the corner of an apartment and we're currently saving for a home, our first home. But the interest rates right now in America suck, and I just can't afford it. So we're just going to keep tucking away, and hopefully we'll see an interest rate drop, and we can actually get a studio built in this thing, and then actually be able to have green screens and the whole nine. But Nerd Propellant on Twitter, it is at Nerd Propellant. You should definitely check it out. So let me just run this quick commercial so you folks can potentially go buy that special last minute gift that you are looking for. Let me see. Here it is. Right. Percent off. Thank you, Nerd Propellant, for being a part of. And again, listen, I decided to work with Valari. They're a mom and pop kind of a place. And same thing with Nerd Propellant. I have had offers from a lot bigger ones, which I don't want to get too many of them because I don't want this to become a corporate channel. We are a mom and pop place. We are self-funded. We are, for the people, by the people, but these are smaller, like Double Barrel Gaming. They're smaller, and I want to help them grow. That's why I have teamed up with them. But so thank you so much for checking out both commercials. We certainly appreciate it. But holy freaking moly, can we talk Sega? I mean, look. So here's my spiel. In the last 3 or 4 days, we have heard, and again, this really originates from the unexpected 5-game trailer at the Game Awards. So that's about the only credit I can give Jeff Keighley, that he actually allowed for this trailer to be there. Past anything else, he gets no credit because I don't want to go on a tangent about him, but I am not happy with Jeff. I'm going to be honest with you. And at some point, I'm going to have a conversation, whether I'm solo or with a bunch of people, because it's his discounting of like the developers of Hogwarts that have me sick to my stomach over the Game Awards, and how the developers of the games that we play that he has put out on Front Street as why we should tune into the Game Awards to celebrate gaming and the people that make it is a load of shit. And it's a smokescreen and it is a lie. And I have a lot to say about Jeff, and I will say that at another time. What I do want to say is yesterday during one of my live streams, it was brought to my attention that Sega has trademarked Rise from Your Grave. And there are two things happening. One, I'm getting goosebumps. And two, that means that they are bringing back Altered Beast, which was a pack-in game for the Genesis back in the days. And I can tell you right now, if you look at what Sega is currently doing, just based on the 5 game trailers that we saw, which included Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Altered Beast, Shinobi. What's the 5th one, guys?
Streets
I
of
don't
Rage,
remember.
I think, was in there.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
believe.
Yes, it is. There you go. Yeah, it's Fly Guy. I see what you're doing right there, brother. And that's right, Streets of Rage. So we have learned now. I don't like doing this. How do I do with my phone? There was a list that I dropped the list into the DMs. Let me see. Well, you know what? I'll go find the list in a second. I do want to bring in Fuzzy Belvedere. He's as old as I am, right? He appreciates Sega. Yesterday, there was a list that was dropped, and in that list were a couple of super duper standouts that were not announced in this trailer. One is Outrun. Another one is okay, so you had Outrun.
Afterburner.
That's the one that I'm looking for. Afterburner, House of the Dead. I mean, so I know for a fact those 3 plus the 5 that we saw. I know that Panzer Dragoon is a part of that. I would imagine at some point that a remake or a reimagining of Daytona USA is a possibility, right? Sega GT, which is by far my favorite arcade racer of all time. I mean, that machine was expensive. That was like $3 to play that back in the days. And that was like during the, during my late, early 20s, because at that point I was still working for Funkoland in Yonkers.
Funko Land.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's what.
Who's
That's where
this guy? Who's this guy?
freaking Funkoland.
We OGs, bro.
OG. That's right.
Bro, I miss Funko Land and EB Game. Well, I'm sorry,
EB
Electronic
Games.
Boutique.
Yeah, you're right.
That's another one, man. Dude,
KB Toys.
KB Toys is another one. They were always pricier though. Their games were always like $5 more. Those pricks. Didn't have them all. They always had them in stock, so they knew what they were doing. So here's my theory, folks. Again, I don't have this on authority. I don't have an inside source for this particular one. I have inside sources, but this particular one is my personal theory. When you announce to the world that you are coming back and they're bringing in tow anywhere between 10 to 20 IPs, that costs a lot of money. Yeah. And we did learn that last year, Microsoft and Sega had announced this super game partnership, right? So I think a lot of these games coming back, Microsoft is involved, especially on the finance side. That's just a theory. But this is where I take it to the next level. When you have this many IPs, to me, and again, I could be wrong, folks, but I think I could be right. I actually believe that this super game initiative is Sega trying to bring a Sega channel streaming service to all of the platforms, meaning that this will be on PlayStation, it'll be on Nintendo, it'll be on Steam. More specifically, though, of course, it will be on Xbox. But I personally think that this is going to be one of those services like EA Play that is going to be included in your Xbox Game Pass subscription because Xbox and Microsoft are, in my opinion, funding this resurgence of one of the best platforms that died out and still one of the best developers in freaking gaming. By all means, take it away, Fuzzy Belvedere.
Well, let's just start with the long history of Sega and Xbox in general, from the Dreamcast on, kind of thing. Pretty much the original Xbox was like Dreamcast 2 to some extent, but like I want to point out, like, we've talked about like what would be cool things to see from Sega, as far as they have all this IP that they've been kind of sitting on. Sure, they're doing well with the like a Dragon series and Persona and stuff like that. And they also do a lot of stuff with, I think it's Relic is like their PC brand, where it's like a lot of the RTSs and things that are out there. But we've always talked about, what if Afterburner came back? Especially like when there was that Top Gun 2 movie that came out. It's like, man, Afterburner was the go-to arcade back then. So if that made a comeback, or Outrun, like I know there's been several Outruns throughout the years, and they've gotten closer to like, photorealistic graphics and stuff. But with today's tech, to be even closer to photorealism and just have it where it's like an endless loop of roads you can take and things like that, like I'm all for it. And I've been saying for the longest time, like, imagine a reimagined version of Altered Beast, where it's like you could either do it from first person or preferably like third person, over the shoulder kind of thing, and you can transform into all these beasts and fight other beasts going through like the forests and other places and stuff. So it'd almost be like that one werewolf game that came out not too long ago, although it was a much smaller studio that did that, so it wasn't fully realized, I guess you could say, in comparison to a lot of other like AA and AAA games out there. But with Sega putting all of this effort behind it, and these are going to be more along the lines of like AAA level games, based on like their original arcade IPs, like Golden Axe, kind of looking almost like a God of War mini type of game to some extent, and all those other IPs that they're doing. I've won your idea on them doing like a streaming channel type of thing, or like a streaming service that's available on all
I think
platforms.
that, look, I'm gonna tell you this right now, Sega stand folks, no apologies here. I'm telling you right now, I shouldn't say this live on the air, but I don't care, because I want my Sega games. I'll pay $20 a month. I don't give a F. I don't care. I'll pay 20. Did you see some of those games?
Yeah.
Did you see what they look like? There's going to be cop chasing you in Crazy Taxi. Did you see Golden Axe? It looked like what he just said. God of War level? Like what? Streets of Rage. I would have taken a straight up, just give me the pixelized graphics that they did with the or even like the cell shaded stuff that they did with the Streets of Rage 4. Give me another one, no problem. No, they went and made this look like real. Yes, I think that they're back.
Yeah, I'm almost there with you with paying 20 a month. I don't necessarily want to pay 20 a month, but I would. There's games I'm gonna, like, if they release them as full games, I'm definitely buying. Like, there's no doubt about it. The day Afterburner and Outrun come out, those are first two purchases.
Dude.
If they do Hang On or Space Harrier, those are other two that are day ones. And there's a whole bunch of other ones that I would definitely like to have. But man, to have a subscription service or something along those lines, or even just if the games come out as individually sold games, I'm there day one, because much like you, I was a Sega arcade guy. Like this is the main reason why I probably wasn't that much of a Nintendo fan, because I had a Sega Master System, I had a Sega Genesis, I had a Sega Saturn. Saturn is where I kind of bowed out, but in between there, I also had the 32X and the Sega CD. So yeah, I definitely hope that these wind up being, whether it's a subscription or they continue to bring back their old IPs. Like this is like every Sega fan's dream. Like just short of like Xbox kind of bringing them back, and we kind of joked about, hey, maybe the Series X or Series S in Japan or on the East would be like the new Sega Dreamcast 2 or something like that. But yeah, like the partnership that they have with Xbox right now is been definitely paying off benefits as far as some of the games coming into Game Pass and stuff. But
Yes.
man, seeing this super game basically is like their rebirth pretty much. I'm all for it and can't wait until we have these games either in the subscription service deal, or at least in the stores that we can go ahead and get these games, because I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Well, look, I'll put it this way: if they're not in a streaming service, and again, that's a shot in the dark. That's not confirmation at all. I'm just saying that when you have that many games that look potentially ready, first of all, if they are dropped, I don't care how they drop. If they're dropped at 5 at a time, I'm going to buy every one of them day and date. There's no question said. They're getting my money. But I think that when you consider that amount of games, it seems to me as if they're building towards something in order to provide all of these new. Because what do you need in a streaming service? What does Netflix need? They need to continue to provide new content. For me and Josie or Mrs. Boom, we, as much as we love the stuff that's on there, we love their original stuff, but we're fans. We are K-drama fans. And that's pretty much all we freaking watch. Like, we K-drama the F out of Netflix, and we're watching 3 like right now. We were up to almost midnight watching one of the new ones. We freaking love it. And no American subtitles, because those are horrible. No American voiceovers with subtitles, or it's go home. And so, but Fly Guy, I got to bring you in on the conversation, because in front of me, which I don't normally like doing this, I hate reading from my phone. It's unprofessional. But I didn't have it queued on my DM. It was reported on the December 6th that Sega has filed trademarks, and it was made public, for Alex Kidd, which, yes, please, Afterburner, Crazy Taxi, House of the Dead, Outrun, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, and one of my fan favorites, Super Monkey Ball, which I have on everything. This is just the tip of the spear. And you're a Sega kid because you got the Sega Mini. I have the Sega Mini. And I showed you folks when Jose and I were moving storages, we went to a bigger one. I found all my Dreamcast stuff. And I have a total of 3 Dreamcasts. I have 2 American, 1 Japanese. I got 86 games. I even still have like the little Tamagotchi things that you plug into the control. I still got all of them. I'm Dreamcast is the GOAT in my opinion. How excited are you, and what jumps off the page based on what you saw at the Game Awards and the list that I just read for you, Fly Guy?
So how excited am I? Okay.
I see the Sonic hoodie behind you. I don't know if it's a hoodie or a hat, but
it's a little bucket hat. Yeah. But no, I'm super. I have Sonic tatted on my arm, bro. So I'm super excited. 100%. Like Sega I played Super Nintendo, I played Super Mario and all that. I was there, but Sega was my thing. That was my baby. And I'm super excited for Jet Set Radio. I told you that last week, actually. I was like, what if we see Jet Set Radio, and boom, Jet Set Radio's there. That's what I'm super excited for. And it looked good. It looked like a more modern version of what they had back in the day. They don't have to reinvent the wheel for that. They just have to make a good game. And I'm super excited for that.
Yeah. Like I said,
and Altered Beast is another thing. I'm not gonna lie. Altered Beast.
Well, I mean, they did the trademark "Rise from Your Grave." Like I said, if you are a Sega
Rise from your grave.
Yes, and I would imagine that it could potentially be, "Rise from Your Grave" something, right? Like it's going to be, but listen, Altered Beast is coming back. That was a pack-in title. Pack-in title. What is that? I don't even know. These young bucks, they don't even know what a freaking pack-in is. Like, oh, wait, packing sandwich? Am I packing a sandwich in my backpack? No! Consoles used to come with games, man. They were pack-ins, and they were some of the best in the business. especially if you look back at, like, let's say the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World, or the Genesis with Altered Beast. I can just keep going for days, folks. I'm old. This is who I am. Um, Silent Cipher, brother. We got to bring you in on a conversation. Oh, you know what? Before we do, like, I want to pose another question to you, man. How do you feel about my theory with the potential Sega channel streaming service? Do you think that may be something to that?
I'm going to be completely and utterly honest with you when it comes to that. I think there could be something to that. And me personally, as a gamer, I'm tired of paying $70 for games in general. So whatever
Yes.
streaming service, even if PlayStation Plus decides to be good one day, because it's not. I would pay, like, I'm serious. Like, I would prefer to pay a streaming service and get
Yeah.
however many games opposed to, paying $70 a pop. Personally, I don't know.
No, it does make sense. Look, I know you guys and gals are sick of hearing it, but I like to put myself on Front Street, right? Because the channel, it was built on honesty and integrity, and more importantly, transparency. I'm a retired dude. I don't work, right? This is, I mean, this is technically what I do. But you got to understand that, the channel is still relatively small. The partnerships that we're getting, no one's knocking down the door to give us a bag of money. They're just not. But I have a pension, and I worked super hard. I worked 21 years as a New York City police officer to get the pension to be where it is. And I put the hours in. I put the work in. Long nights, long days in the cold, in the heat, in the piss and rain. I did it all, right? With all of that said, my pension is good. Great medical. I have a great pension, but like anything, and this world kind of sucks right now, especially when it comes to putting the food on the table for some folks. It has a ceiling. And the thing that no one really kind of sits back in their chair and gives credit to is Microsoft for punching the industry in its face and telling the industry that if you want to buy games, we have that for you, but you don't have to, because we have a streaming service that offers over 500 games in it every month, and we drop our first party bangers in there day and date. And Sony can't compete. And even though their streaming service is bare bones, it's at least they have a service. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth it, but they have a service, if you can call it that. Nintendo's, on the other hand, I kind of dig it. Now, granted, is it as stout as a Game Pass? Not on its best day, but because I'm an OG and I appreciate N64 games, even though they look horrible. But I want to. I still play Wave Racer. I know, but I remember when that first came out, I was like, the water, those waves. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Right. But I want to play F-Zero. There has been a new F-Zero since the GameCube. Like, I'm dying for a new F-Zero, but I will go out and play like something like F-Zero 99. Should not be as good as it is, but it's a freaking amazing, and it's a part of the service. So when I put myself on Front Street, I say the reason why I can have these other interests on PlayStation and on Nintendo is because I don't have to worry about it on Xbox, because they appreciate me being a part of their service, and I appreciate that they give me more value for my money than could possibly be offered by anywhere else. And that is an absolute fact. So what Fly Guy is saying, he's 100% right. Nobody wants to pay $76.43, which is what it costs for a full game here in New York. Nobody wants to pay that, nearly $80, when everything else is so expensive. So that's my spiel. Sorry. Silent Cipher, let's bring you in on a conversation. This is okay. So I'm going to say something kind of scandalous here. Okay. And this could be considered maybe a little console war-y. PlayStation ultimately killed Sega. That's a fact, right? And how do we know that? Because PlayStation paid developers to keep their games off of Dreamcast, like Tomb Raider, right? Confirmed facts. So I find it delightful. I find it encouraging. I find it F around and find out ish, if you will, that Sony is spiraling out of control and risen from their grave is here Sega bringing back all the IP that we know and love, and literally they are going to be the winner. And I love it. I love it that this is happening. I could not be more thrilled as a Sega kid, as a fan of gaming. What are your thoughts? I again, Council Worry. I know I apologize for it. We don't like to kind of fling that mud here, but it is ironic that one is faltering flat on their face, and the other one is literally rising from their grave. Take it away, Sound Cipher.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy throwing that mud. Let's call a spade. It is what it is, man. Like I like this whole situation. I like seeing how things are starting to flip. This is like a long delayed karma for Sony's behavior back in the day and what they did to Sega. And it's like one of those underdog stories where it's like you can't help but be excited for Sega because everything that we're seeing come from them and this like resurgence that we're seeing of Sega it's awesome. You know, it's like they were hanging from a cliff by a rope. The rope was frayed. They fell. They landed in the water. They got injured. They slowly had to work back up to what they were at. They got up to the top of that cliff, and then Sony was hanging from that cliff by a frayed rope. And they're like, nah, shoes on the other foot now, isn't it? It's funny how it works when you're in the same position we were in. So I think it's overdue karma, and I'm here for it. I mean, the thing is like I only had a Sega Game Gear. So bear with me because I was not a Sega kid. I enjoyed Sonic, I enjoyed stuff like that, but I've gotten into it since, like over the years from Xbox 360, all those, they introduced me into more of those games. And so I've gotten into them later in life than maybe a lot of you guys have, but I've really enjoyed my experience with a lot of what I've played. And I'm really excited to see that we're going to have more of that resurgence from them and be able to actually go back and play more of these games and more people be introduced to these games that maybe they did miss when they were a kid because they had a PlayStation or they had a Nintendo or whatever, like you're saying. I think this is great because those IPs deserve to be seen by more eyes. Now, in regards to them being part of Game Pass or something, or like an extension of Game Pass, I definitely see it. I don't know what the price breakdown would be for that, if there's going to be like an add-on tier or something, or if they'll add them like EA Access was, right? Like EA Access was one of those ones where it's like, hey, you've already got this system, you've got the service, and now you've got these games as well. Enjoy it. Hopefully it's something like that. But even if they did attach on an extra $5 or $10 or whatever a month for it, I mean, it's like everyone else was saying, right? It's like, I don't want to pay the extra money, but like, if you give me an option like that, I will pay that any day over a $70 per game cost. Like $70 per game is a joke.
Yeah. Listen, again, Virtual Fighter is also rumored to be coming back in a big way, and there's and that's another series that's an OG right there. Like, if you look at what Tekken is, Tekken exists because what's that? Was that Crispy?
Oh yes, yeah, dude. Like, huge Sega stan, man. Like, what? I'll give Jeff kudos for allowing that perfect ad to show, because that's what Sega has been to me my whole life.
Nice.
You know, Sega.
Yeah.
You know, like,
means something.
It's moments later.
Virtual.
There you go, Web Dave swooping in at you.
Well, Virtual Fight. I mean, let's be honest. 3D fighting games, it stemmed from that. That was on the
Absolutely,
Sega Saturn. That was a
Yep.
launch game for the Sega Saturn.
was.
Had it. Never experienced anything like it. I played it in an arcade, but it's not the same. It's just not, because you're throwing quarters in as you get your ass quick, handed to you. But let's be honest here. I'm with you on your thought process, because at that time, I mean, really, Phil was, intern going into, development status and all that stuff. And I really feel like Phil's like, you tried to kill Sega, but they're still there, and we're gonna work with them. When I become, head of, Microsoft Gaming, I will make it happen. And what I saw the other day on the Game Awards, I was like, yo, this is old school. And I was like, this is what I'm like the lights go out. Like it looked really good, to be honest with you. And then they bring out, Crazy Taxi and Jet Set and freaking Altered Beast. And I'm like, dude, like I was on Sega to play their sports games because they were better than half of the shit we get now. They were so good. Sega Sports NFL 94 and 95. That made me a full-on Sega fan, because they were like way ahead of Madden. I don't care what anybody says. They were so far ahead
2K,
of Madden.
2K was leaps and bounds better. The one with oh my god.
And that was all Sega Sports. Everybody forgets it was called Sega Sports.
Yeah.
2K 2010. Like, you know what I mean? Like 2K whatever.
Moss was on
you know
the
what I
cover
mean?
from the Vikings. That was the first one. Just man, that was probably one of my favorite football sports games ever. And the following year, if you remember, they released to go up against Madden for $20 versus Madden for $60. And they ate Madden's lunch. It was a better game, and it was $20.
That's when there was competition, though, because he had 989 Sports, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yes,
Sports
bro.
for the PlayStation.
Game
Indeed,
day.
yeah.
Game day.
You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like I looked at that and I said, yo, you're back. You watch. And then I saw like little teases, little parts of the trailer, and I'm like, okay, all right, keep going. And I'm gonna shut up. And all I gotta say is, I'm gonna tell you right now, even if Microsoft could buy Sega or not, people have speculated that many times. I don't care. I just want Sega to be back. That's what I want, because they were innovative. They were ahead of their times. They put DSL in the Dreamcast before anybody else. Y'all remember that? No, you don't. Some of y'all are too young.
No.
You
We
don't
remember
know.
that was great times.
We remember that, but I'm talking to the chat right now, because I'm gonna tell you right now.
The OGs on this.
And then
panel. There you
Microsoft
go.
did what? Microsoft did what? Original Xbox, bam. They
Online.
put something in there that nobody wanted at the time. And Microsoft has continued to excel. Talk about the multiplayer. Hey, Naughty Dog can't do it. I guess they ain't that great then. Look at these things. Understand it. And understand that there is a time and a period. And the time is now, because, I mean, Fortnite Lego is going crazy. People are going crazy for it. I'm going to be honest with you. And they probably looked at Minecraft and was like, oh, this works. And we're going to add a little Lego status to it. Look at these things that these companies do. Yes, they mold themselves from what they have done before or what other companies have succeeded at. And
Well,
I think
it's
we
funny.
need to realize that Sega was far ahead of their time.
Well, there's a lot of copies. As a matter of fact, Cypher Type 1, Crispy, drops an outstanding $2 super chat. And I'll get to the other ones in a second. He says he has a hot take. Virtual Fighter 4 made current Tekken what it is today. 1,000%. So yeah, I mean, you can say like like Streets of Rage, for instance. Now I know I don't know the years of when it came out. Like Final Fight, GOAT, right? Streets of Rage, GOAT. And they went head to head. Capcom and Sega went head to head for years. And now we have a new one coming out. I mean, there's a lot to get excited about. Chris, where's your thought process quickly in regards to them potentially having this many IP ready for what I believe is going to be some sort of a streaming Sega channel?
I don't think that at all.
Oh,
I
so
think,
you think they're full releases per title?
and they're going to be cheaper. They're going to
Potentially,
be smart
sure.
about it. It depends on what they have. Also, who's to say they don't get back end Game Pass revenue?
I think Xbox is heavily involved. Personally, I don't know for sure.
There's a partnership. We've seen it. We've read the article.
They've confirmed
if you remember,
partnership. Yeah.
After Dreamcast went down, Xbox had Jet Set Radio Future and Crazy Taxi on it. So
Indeed, they did. Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
dude, I'm telling you, the one thing that people ignore is how bad PlayStation tried to kill Sega, and they still have risen from the grave. And trust me, they have risen from the grave. And that's where I say, Sega.
So listen, quickly, let's bring in Web Dave. Web Dave, you are a Sega kid. We know that for a fact. Where's your personal excitement for this resurgence, this renaissance of one of the OG platforms that, remember, Sega was running shoulder to shoulder with Nintendo, with TurboGrafx 16. They hung around for many, 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 many years. And it appears that this partnership has spawned something that we didn't. When you said Super Game, we originally heard only that they were going to make a potential, resurgence to Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. We had no idea that they were going to be bringing all of this. I mean, Alex Kidd, are you kidding me? Like, I would have, in 100 guesses, would have never thought that is one they wanted to bring back. And we have it confirmed that they have re-trademarked it. That means they're doing something with it. And all these, like House of the Dead, can we even have light guns on these new TVs? I don't know, but if I have to use the controller, I will.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this, Dave?
Well, I'm excited for it. I mean, I think that everybody was kind of speculating about that, that it would make a good. Obviously, they said they were working with them. So what's the tie-in with Microsoft? Is Microsoft going to, put them in Game Pass? Is Microsoft going to, have the quote unquote Sega store available in Game Pass,
Sega channel or something?
Yeah, something like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I hope that's something like that happens. I mean, kind of like we got EA Sports. It would be nice to have that, or even if it's just a standalone, like what they have with Ubisoft. But if it's affordable, I know you guys ready to shell out the money, but don't get me wrong.
I ruined it for everyone.
No, you did. Yeah, you are. No, I'm just kidding. If anything, I get it for a couple months, play some games, get the FOMO over, and then go back to But it would be nice to be able to have it there all the time. Or like you said, individual price. $5 a game, $10 a game, $15 a game. For some of the revamps, redos, and stuff like that, or $20. It just depends on on the game, the quality, and what kind of effort they're going to put into it. It's looking good now, but obviously, I want to see more. We all want to see more, and I want to see them all. I mean, and of course, we're forgetting probably the greatest Sega game ever made that needs to be on the list, and that's Seaman.
Wow. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. Look at Fuzzy. Oh, yeah. Anyway, but no, man, it's I'm excited. There's a lot of great games coming. There's a lot of great things they could do. My favorite console ever. Pretty much was the Dreamcast. It just had so many good things, so much potential and possibilities. You know, if they'd done just one or two little things different, it'd be a different gaming landscape today. If the Sega Dreamcast had the DVD drive was playable for actual movies, that would have been a whole different story, because that was one of the reasons why, you know, PlayStation 2 really took off, was because it also played DVD movies. And as silly as that sounds, you know, one of the best Blu-ray players still to this day is the PlayStation 3, because it's upgradable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just you know, those kind of, sometimes those little things matter, even though it's like, you know, oh, we're saving money. Spend a little extra money now, and then you have longevity to make the money. So anyway, but I got off topic. Sorry, but yeah, man, it's it is absolutely exciting for them to do this. And I'm like you, man. When I saw that trailer come up and the teasers and stuff, it was like, oh, it's great. And then to see it, but I do agree. I hope if they do Crazy Taxi, they spend the money and license the Offspring song again, because that
absolutely, sure. I wouldn't. I mean, listen, what are they doing now? So of course they can license that song. Sorry, not
well, I mean, the band has a new album out, and they actually
I know. I'm just saying that. Listen, but they're not as popular a band as they used to be back in the '90s.
I go see them, but then I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, we're old. We appreciate it. Listen, real quick before we get to the last amount of super chats and get to outros, because we're hitting the 2-hour mark right now. I do want to ask you one question, Dave, because you're our money guy. Like you understand the business more than most people understand. How do you feel about the potential Sega channel? Because I understand like those games are big for us, but I think that when you're trying to sell older IP, even though they're going to be in new ways and they're going to be great, you really can hit your mass audience if you drop this quote unquote Sega channel on a PlayStation, right? On a Switch, on an Xbox, and on a Steam, where instead of trying to sell the individual games, you can sell these titles in like a package form for somewhere upwards of maybe 10 or 15, maybe it's $14.99 a month, which I think that's the highest they would go. But I think that there's more potential to have a revenue consistently coming in across trying to sell these games individually.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if the best cost effective way for them to kind of reestablish, at least in the hearts and minds of the fans, for nostalgia, would be like, because a lot of people out there goes, oh, I wish Sega still made a new system or a new console. I wish that some people were saying that, you know, Xbox in Japan, maybe they should do a partnership to where that in Japan it's the Sega Xbox or some kind of thing. You know, a lot of people
some
have
sort of a
talked about
branded
that.
Xbox with Sega on there. I think that's a brilliant idea. Yeah,
exactly. But the more cost efficient way to do it without having to spend money in R&D and research and put out a new console and compete with the open market would be to have a store that's available on multiple platforms, including PC, to where you could actually get in and get the merchandise. And it's something that they could actually, you know, start off with a certain set of games for a certain price, and then, you know, maybe over the course of every couple of months or 6 months, they add a new game to keep the people wanting more and coming back to it, not just be like, oh, it was there and gone. You know, they have a lot. I mean, Blue Stinger and just tons and tons and tons of games that would be like right for a remake or an update. I mean, even the original Sega Swirl, the game you played on every console, that was fun, man. You know, so it's stuff like people like Candy Crush that would love that. So I mean, there's just so many possibilities, and financially speaking, to do it as a quote unquote app that you add on and that they are able to get it every place would be the smartest thing for them to do, if that's actually what they're trying to do. Now, obviously, they're still going to make standalone games and Sonic.
Right, you're still going to have your Sonic.
Yeah.
There's a Panzer Dragoon is the potentially the RPG being redone, which is going to be a big open world game. A couple of more tidbits over here. Now I don't know how to pronounce this. It's GEMATSU. I follow them. They're the ones that have been dropping all of these bombs. A couple of more add to the list that we've already talked about. Kid Chameleon, if you remember that, which was a freaking great side scroller. But this is the one. This is the one that has me crazy excited. Eternal Champions. Do you remember that Sega exclusive fighter? What? Yes,
That'd be great.
please.
It was,
That
I
would
think
be,
it was also a Sega CD game too, where they added like more cutscenes and things like that.
yeah, they did. It was they
to
wanted
enhance
to
it.
upgrading it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
somebody in the
listen,
chat was saying Death 3 said that Skies of Arcadia would be great. And Soul Calibur
oh, that's a
would be great.
great
But
one,
Soul
dude.
Calibur was actually that's a Namco game. But if they could work it out, because I mean, Soul Calibur, the original, I used to
And
sit and
from
just
Virtual
play
Fighter.
it for hours and hours and
Me
hours
too.
on end because
Yeah.
it was just absolutely amazing. Sorry, Ben.
No, launch title for the Dreamcast for sure. Real quick, Sir X-Men in the chat drops an outstanding generous $2 super chat and says, been warning everyone for the last 2 years, Sony is in trouble. Dan the Man Cunningham, generous friend of the program, says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Everyone hit that like button and subscribe button and jump on that, folks. For the love of Jehovah, we are 170 subs away from 14K. It would be pretty dope. I mean, again, I probably should have said it in the beginning of the show rather than saying at the end, because there's still 700 people here. Could we hit it live on the air? I don't think so. That's asking for 170 subs in one swoop is too much. Asking for like 20 or 30 potential, but listen, you know it. We work super hard on this channel. This has been a powerful year for us. We've done some really, really, really big things, both that you know about and some things that we're currently working on in the background. And to hit 14K by the end of the year, I'd like it to be an early Christmas gift to Mrs. Boom and I. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. It would be pretty dope to hit that because, again, 5 days a week, 20 shows a month, sometimes a little bit more than that when we have the breaking news. We'd like to hit that 14K. We really would.
Hey, Boom, I want to interrupt 2 seconds and just to say to the audience, if you're here listening and watching Boom right now and you haven't subscribed, just click the subscribe button. It's so easy because this content is amazing. He's here all the time. And the breaking news, he's going to jump on. He's going to let you know about it. And I tell you, it's family friendly. It's sometimes we get a little spicy, that's for sure. But I'm telling you, Mr. Boomstick works hard to get out the gaming news and to also bring all of us are here because of Boom, and Boom brings you the latest and the greatest people that are in the community. And there's some amazing, hardcore, great gamers that have been on here on his channel, and he debuts them, he shows them, he gives them their flowers. He helped the Iron Lords get over 10K, and that's a fact.
No, actually, I actually helped. It's funny. You're onto something because actually, the Iron Lords helped me get to 10K live on their
both
show.
ways. Exactly.
Yeah, but them, and again, this is why I find YouTube so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because look at the Iron Lords.
They're amazing.
They're over 20K. They have earned every single sub.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them that put on a show each and every Sunday are amazing content creators in their own rights, their own personalities. There was a time where they were struggling to get to 1K. So when I first started, I used to do these segments that there was Double Barrel Gaming Presents, and they were one of the channels that my brother listened to, and he's like, "Boom, you gotta check these guys out. They are dope." And I listened to it, and I'm like, how are you guys not at 1,000 subscribers? So we did a special edition Saturday show that I normally don't do, and live on the air, like I've done for a lot of people. They hit the 1K, and like I said, we still continue that ideology that we did all those years ago, and that was like in year 1 of the channel. We continue to push now. Paying it forward, introducing new voices and new personalities, getting other people's channels to the very important 1K, which makes you a partner with YouTube, is incredibly important at the core of this channel. And I'm not saying that we deserve anything. No, we don't. We do this for the love of you guys and gals, but it would be really dope if we can hit the 14K. So
And boom,
thank you for-
I got to throw one more little thing in there, little nugget. But I mean, and you think about all the amazing people that are on there. Be quiet over there. Sorry, my my Google Assistant started going off. But no, the thing that you should know about this channel is that not only does he bring new and innovative people in here, but I mean, he's had Larry Herb on. He's had Dealer Gaming. He's had Colt Eastwood, Randall Thor 19, Jez Gordon, and the list goes on and on and on of amazing content providers that are out in the community, and he brings them on to get their opinions, to give them to you, and boom, we thank you for that.
Thank you for the very kind words. So I definitely appreciate the high marks. And continued, he says, no one works harder than Boom. He deserves the support more than Double Barrel Gaming. Love to you, Boom, brother. That's very kind of you to say, and thank you for the very kind words and the generosity. We have Sir X-Man drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Nights into Dreams Reimagined. That's my dream. That would be kind of dope. And I think that character has a significant amount of what could be popularity behind her. She was an amazing character, so I would definitely be into that. El Monte drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, we got to thank Xbox for this. They started the game preservation movement, and maybe Xbox already bought Sega, but they just can't say anything. I mean, I think that speaking with Everborn, his ideology is very sound, where instead of actually acquiring them, which of course would be a lot of regulation, a lot of regulator eyes, they can invest a significant amount of money, like 49%, into the company, and have a very big, powerful voice on the board. And they don't have to be that, they invest into this company. They don't have to own them, quote unquote, but they could be a part of where they move and shake. I think that's probably the better way to do it. Pat F, who's been a channel member for 4 months. Pat F, thank you so much for the generosity. Sean Johnson drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, as a gamer since 1981, bring back these Sega classics is a dream come true. I'll buy all of these titles day one. Let's go. And of course, wow, he does it again, folks. Highlander 001 has re-gifted an additional, already astounding amount of Double Barrel Gaming memberships. He does another 5. Thank you, brother. That is, I don't even have words for the generosity. That's very kind of you. And Sean Johnson drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, I hope Sarah Bond is listening to the stream today. We will pay for Sega subscription service. I would in a second. Even if it's, listen, if it's separate, I don't care. I pay for Ubisoft Plus separate, and that's fine. If this is like a $15 a month thing, and I wouldn't have it on everything, I would have it on Xbox where I play. And that would be dope. Raw Rebel drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I saw the fanboys celebrating the fact that Larian Studios says that Baldur's Gate 3 won't be in Game Pass anytime soon. The IGN reviewer made a point to ask. Yeah, see, listen, buy the game, folks. Just sometimes you just gotta buy the game. Now, I was going to buy it, like I said. I was gifted it by a very generous friend of the program, Scott Gamer Dude. He gifted it to me. But sometimes you just gotta buy games. Or what I was initially going to do is wait to the Xbox end of year sale, where they put hundreds of games on sale, and that's the way you could have went. Jonas the Dad, generous friend of the program, says, go ILP, boom, 5 hours a day, hit that like button. that is too long. I got 2 hours and my back starts to bother me, so that's all I got. But let's get to the outros, and we're going to start first with our special guest, Fly Guy GBG. Brother, I need you to sell the brand. We need to tell people where they can come over to your YouTube channel, check out your incredible pointed opinions, subscribe, and more importantly, follow you on social media to get the 411 of what's going on in gaming. Oh, you're muted. Uh-oh. There you go. 1 second.
Happens to the best of us.
It happens to me, and I'm a host, so it's
Been there, done that.
such is life. There
Can
you
you
go,
hear me
brother.
now?
Yeah, now you're
Okay.
back. Yeah.
All right, cool. As you guys know, my name is Fly Guy GBG. That is where you can find me on YouTube. On Twitter, it's going to be Real Fly Guy GBG. So add the word real. Tonight, if it's okay with Boom.
Yeah, no, sell your brand. Sell it. What you got going
Tonight, I will be starting my first podcast. It's called Gaming on the Fly.
Congratulations. Yes, drop that in the link. Drop your link into the chat, brother. Let's do it.
I got you. Yes, I will be starting my podcast tonight. I will be having Dirt Griggity on and Black Viking. So Black Viking will also be on that as
gentlemen gamers, brother. Those are powerful first guests for you. Congratulations.
So it's gonna be tonight, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm hoping to see some of you guys there, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, you know what you do? Drop your link into my chat, to my private DM, so I can help promote it. And yeah, those are powerful voices in the community. As a matter of fact, I mean, Dirt is just another incredible content creator that has exploded on the scene. Love his work, and of course, I say it all the time, Dirt. I love you, brother. My favorite is POS of the week because, god damn it, that is just freaking hilarious. And the Black Viking, folks, if you didn't already know, not only was he on Primetime Gaming this Wednesday, and like the cool cat that he is, just delivered as you would expect him to deliver, he's going to be joining us on a regular basis on Primetime Gaming. That's right, twice a month due to his schedule. So he's not going to be there every week. Every other week, he's going to become a full-time panel member. I made the announcement the other night, and I'm honored to add that cool cat to the list of amazing voices we already have on Primetime Gaming. And listen, congratulations, Fly Guy. Great to see that you are starting your own podcast. I'm happy to, and again, I will help promote that as well. Silent Cypher, we got to help promote the Xbox International podcast. And I got to tell you, man, I don't know what's going on with you and Lou, but you are putting him in the worst possible positions every time I see some of the gifts, some of the videos. It makes Crazy Lou Gaming look, well, even more crazier than he already is. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand of Xbox International Podcast, and more importantly, where could people find you and they be told to sit down on social media?
Right. Well, yeah, no, pay close attention to Twitter. Watch the show on Wednesdays. We have Xbox International on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll find all sorts of goodies, all sorts of interesting photos and shenanigans I've been getting up to. Fuzzy was actually he was sitting right there next to me on one of them when I was actually hanging out with Dirt and Sean. Had one for Sean as well. I've been wasting a lot of time on my phone doing Photoshop and stuff, and it's been a blast. I don't know. I'm a child. I get a lot of fun out of just making silly photos. But yeah, no, we would love to see you guys on Wednesday. Obviously, Boom's got his show on Wednesday as well. Whether you catch us then or you catch us later on repeat or whatever, like, I just want you guys to enjoy the content. If there's ever any feedback, if there's ever anything that you don't like or you do like and you want us to expound on, let us know. Like, we're more than welcome to hear the feedback. If you think that my head is way too pale, trust me, I agree with you. If that's the feedback you want to give me, that's fine. I'll wear a hat, right? Like, there are things we can do, but I appreciate anyone who ever swings by. It's always awesome to see these folks in the community. Boom, thanks for having me on again, as always. I'll be around. Hopefully, I actually may be around this next week, so I'll let you know for sure.
Nice. No, listen.
So if you have another seat,
you're in the DMs, so brother. When you see the link, just join. There's no sweat there.
Cool.
J Rock dropped something into my chat, and this is the kind of rhetoric that I have a distaste for. Now there's this game by a company called Cookie Cutter. They have a game that's out, and some people have been talking about it, which is cool. It's an indie game. This is what I distaste about the media, because now they have set forth a path for these game developers, and now I'm not buying the game. Now you will not get my $17. And this is just pretty shitty. instead of promoting their game as an interesting Metrovania type of game, they go out of their way, and this is what they said, folks. Cookie Cutter does what Starfield doesn't, and has hashtag Weapon Wheel, which I don't know if they're affiliated, but hashtag Suck It Todd. You're not getting my money. I don't care how good your game can be. Your game could now be a Game of the Year contender, and I will never play it because I don't play in those waters. You know, we have fun and we give Sony the business, but I would never say hashtag shit on sad dad game. Like, I just wouldn't do that because I, quite frankly, really enjoy. So shout out to anyone that is going to not buy Cookie Cutter from this at Cookie Cutter developer. Shout out to J-Rock for saying to me, the industry promoting their games by shitting on Xbox. That is all due to people. Yeah, it's 100% disrespectful. So don't. And it says it's out, by the way. It's out now, by the way. Well, good on you. I'm not even going to bother. Just dumb rhetoric. So we had Fly Guy step out for a second. All right. So sorry for the graphics. We'll see if we can get him back in here in a second. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre, and more importantly, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, as always, thank you for having me on. Always appreciate being here with you guys, and what an awesome panel today. Thank you guys for your takes on things. It's always great to just chop it up and talk about gaming and enjoy this hobby that we have that we share together. For everybody in the chat, thanks for checking us out. Don't forget, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to check us out. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time later on tonight on Fun Speculations channel. The Shop Podcast tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. And then right back here for Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon on Monday afternoon. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Appreciate you being here, brother, and we'll see you on Monday. I'm already working on the show, as you would imagine. And speaking of shows, Web Dave, you got a big show coming up on this Sunday. As a matter of fact, folks, he is doing a Christmas Eve show. He's doing a New Year's Eve show with Retri, his partner over on the Gamers Council podcast, and he has been hitting it out of the park with the guests. By all means, sell the brand, brother. Where can people check that out? And more importantly, follow you on social media.
Boom, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a privilege and an honor to be here, especially with these amazing other content providers as well. And this show that we have coming up this week, we do have Kay Asante, Red Dead Panda, and Gaming Forte will all be joining us as we kind of wrap up the year. My brother. Oh yeah, he's amazing, and it's going to be a good show. And yeah, we are doing a Christmas Eve and a New Year's Eve show for the simple fact that there's a lot of shows that aren't doing anything, and we figured, you know what, sometimes you just want to hang out and talk, and it's going to be more laid back and casual, both of those shows, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and we may even bring in some people from the chat. We may just bring them on and be like, hey, join us in the conversation, have a little fun that way, and also, you know, let people know that they, you know, sometimes this time of year isn't easy for everybody. So if you want, you know, somebody to hang out with for Christmas, you can hang out with us.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Putting the community first, brother. I love it. And who knows, Dave? I mean, Microsoft could let the cat out of the bag that they purchased Sega on December 24th. And well, you're going to be doing a live stream to get everyone excited. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking potential news. And last and not least, the crispy truth as it's known, Mr. Multiplayer, Mr. Gears of War himself. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people find you on social media? And what else you got going on?
Well, Boom, there's only at Crispy Bomb on X marks the spot. And of course, you can find me anywhere Mr. BoomStick is, because you just never know when the crispy truth will show up. So we'll see you then. And of course, Breakfast of Boom as many times as I possibly can be here.
Yeah, well, listen, we love having you here, brother, and we love when you just show up on other podcasts as well, which you do regularly. And of course, folks, I'm going to close out the show with a big thank you to all of the super chats, all of the generosity that have come in the way of channel memberships from multiple people today. Mrs. Boom and I cannot thank you enough for the kind and ridiculously generous support. We are incredibly grateful and thankful, and that is why we are going to have the biggest contest, folks, we've ever done. We've been doing YouTube 6 years officially, November 3rd of 2023. So we're 6 years past. We made it, but we are giving away next Friday $1,500 worth of prizes in 2 hours. That's right, folks. 10 $100 gift cards to your platform of choice. That means you can get a gift card for Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, or of course Nintendo eShop. And there are going to be 2 winners. 2 of the 12 winners are walking away with a $250 gift card each. And again, same thing. All
you
4
can buy a
platforms.
Series S.
You could buy a Series S with that. Yeah, you absolutely could. So technically, you could say that we're giving away 2 consoles. But I mean, if you're not going to spend it on that, I hear you. And again, the first 6 folks go to people that are channel members. That is the only way. Mrs. Boom, that comes directly from Mrs. Boom. She goes, listen, we have a lot of channel members. We got to put them first because they're supporting the channel. Now, the next 6 winners will be anybody in the chat during the 2-hour live stream, and I will give you a hashtag to put in the chat, and that will automatically register you with StreamYard, who has a picker, and they will pick the winner based on that hashtag. Of course, that hashtag is secret for right now. We'll drop that in the chat multiple times next Friday. Circle your calendar, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard show. It is the 6th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. BoomStick. And of course, we can't do any of that without the ridiculous support that we have. And again, it's our way of kind of paying it forward to the community. And we truly enjoy giving back, especially during the holidays, in a big way. And of course, I would not close out my show any other way but saying something that I learned from my pop when we were growing up. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.